No, there we are. Not my fault.
That was on me. I packed my my recording equipment to Las Vegas this weekend, thinking number one, thinking that I was going to do a podcast in Las Vegas, and that turned out quickly. I realized that was never going to happen.
No.
So, which is good. That's it's going to be good, I think, for the RPS subs, because lower content week, more of my stuff will be focused on the Discord, and we're getting rid of the podcast for a week. So hopefully I'm just fascinated to see where ownership goes. I was typing away in the Discord as soon as pricing came out, because there was some absurd, provocative, real avant-garde stuff going on at DraftKings right now that you could probably speak to better than I can.
What, in terms of pricing?
Yeah. Is this 5K thing going to be is that going to be the norm going forward?
Permanent. Yep. Two things. One, because they want to stop having these clusters of ownership of, really chalky sort of 7K plays, and no one plays the sixes. Now you have 12-2 Rory, which that's debatable. But you can play him with some of these 5K plays, and there's actually some good ones. I mean, there's one down there we can talk about personally that I couldn't believe it. So yeah, it's gonna be. I had to see if you were blinking, if you were actually not frozen, because you stood so still.
I was reminding people in the chat to like and subscribe for a free sandwich at Jersey Mike's.
No, it's not Jersey Mike's. We dumped them. They dumped us. We're done.
We're out on Jersey Mike's.
Yep.
I want to make sure we remember every week to remind people to like and subscribe, because we don't do that. And if you watch this show, if you enjoy our info, it would really mean a lot if you would like and subscribe, because we have a new partnership. We're giving something away. I'm going to let Wiley reveal it, but we're out on Jersey Mike. So what are we in on this week?
Oh, well, there's two things. The real thing is subscribe and like. And on Masters Week, Andy's going to pick up a bunch of gear from Augusta National, because he's there, Flex too. And he's going to give away some gear. And for anyone subscribed, with a bonus to anyone who liked. I'm not sure we can track that, but I just said it. Sounded good to say. Between now and the Masters. So yeah, like and subscribe. Secondly, our real sponsors, DQ. Grill or chill. You can grill or you can chill, but you can't do both. And that's for Dub KJ in the Discord, because he loves Dairy Queen. I said, what's their good? He lives in North Texas. He lives in Food World in Austin, Texas. I go, what's good there to eat? He goes, oh, there's a Dairy Queen by the airport. So
Dairy Queen's good. I almost stopped there on my drive home yesterday. I like their blizzards. I haven't really had their cooked food, but I've really enjoyed their blizzards over the year. So yeah, I mean, I'm keeping track of it. Our guy Reish won last week in the with the comments. So on this video, I want to do this. You can do another one yourself, but this is personally for because I'm keeping track of this, guys. I'm a man of my word. Last year it was Reish with Harry Hall, who I believe finished top 20 last week. But there's a golfer that by my numbers is the most mispriced player on the slate. If you get whoever guesses this golfer correctly.
It was funny because last week we would ask this question, and then before it got out of our mouth, someone said, Justin Lauer. They would get it instantly. Yeah. And so
the issue is I've already kind of talked about it in the Discord. So if you're RPS sub, you're probably going to have a bit of an upper hand.
Well, I've got one too. So we'll do two. If you name mine or Andy's, that's the comment generation. What are they going to get?
I was going to offer something from the Masters, but I don't know if that's too far away. I wonder if they want something a little bit sooner than that. So the Masters is 6 weeks away. So, I mean, aren't you guys having a, by the way,
hat?
yeah,
RPS
I just want to say really quickly, I find out like a day ago, hey, are you coming to this RPS meetup in Kentucky? It's like, okay, when's the meetup? 2 months ago? Let me look at flights. No, it's this week. It's this week. You know, and I know you guys have been discussing this in the Chords chat. I'm sure this was probably in the works well before that I was aboard on RPS to even begin with. But I just had no idea that this was happening. None whatsoever.
I'm going to check the receipts on that real soon because I'm pretty sure we told you about it.
Was there, here's the thing, and you'll see from
Pretty
my
sure
400 unread text messages, sometimes something needs to be like drilled into my brain from multiple different avenues.
So we'll see you Sunday.
So we'll see you guys Sunday. Now I've got a club championship at my golf club in Los Angeles this weekend, unfortunately, that I'm already signed up for. Flex number 3.
All right. So this week or last week, did you take anything away from the Mexico Open? I know you were in Vegas. The Tom and Marty's Carl Yuan sweat, which I tailed, that fizzled out. It seemed dreamy going into Saturday. Then he missed 2 short putts, hole 1, hole 2, and that was about it. I don't know. I mean, Knapp, I thought he was going to go backwards based on his first 9 holes on Sunday, but he held it together. I think once Valmaki went in the water, I think it was on 10, that was cash out point. I think Knapp sort of dug in a little bit and said, maybe I can take this. And he did. So good for him. Didn't understand the ruling on 18 with the fence barrier based on what happened with SH Kim with us, right? SH Kim not low guts, right?
Yeah, that was so brutal.
At Georgia, Rhode Island, I mean, he had enough of the 4-shot lead really it was 7 going into Sunday. That padded a bad round. Yeah.
George in Rhode Island already told me that I speak like Kevin from The Office. I don't know if that's a diss or a compliment. I'm not going to put that in the flex category.
Rhode Island, neither a road nor an island either.
I feel like that definitely skews more towards the diss than a compliment. I was on the road for the final round, but I did get to watch. I got to watch the replay on Golf Channel during the evening. Did you realize that Jake Knapp was 29 years old? I had it in my head that Knapp was like this up-and-comer, fresh out of UCLA, Korn Ferry Tour grad, like a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. Knapp's like he's almost like Max Homa's age. And that's what it would be, right? Like if Knapp turns out to be really good, which I think at minimum, from an eye test perspective, he has some of the most intoxicating tempo and ball speed and swing speed on tour. Now there are a lot of players that have that, right? Whether that translates into bigger and better things remains to be seen, but we will be seeing a lot more of him, including at the Masters in a couple of weeks. Which
he gets a full ride to everything now. He gets majors, he gets exemptions till 2026. He gets you got a pretty big paycheck. So I thought it was one of these watered down events where you just get, a gift basket, a tote bag with some meatballs in it or something. But no, he gets
care package from the Salinas brothers.
Yeah. Enjoy your lanyard. Have a great week. Thank you.
Right. And I know this is a limited sample size, but we're already starting to get a pretty good indication of what types of golf courses favor Jake Knapp's skill set and what Jake Knapp's skill set is, which is he is an incredibly powerful driver of the golf ball, and he is a great middle to long iron player. Now, what are Jake Knapp's 2 best finishes on the PGA Tour? 3rd at Torrey Pines, winner at Vidanta Vallarta. Those are 2 golf courses that heavily favor power off the tee and middle to long iron play with a low missed fairway penalty, right? So we're already starting to see like what are the types of golf courses that you want to play Jake Knapp on. What's another driver heavy golf course that heavily favors middle to long iron play and has a low missed fairway penalty off the tee? Augusta National, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what Jake Knapp does. I just thought that he was like 22. And we see these guys like Max Homa.
Not at my age, man. Not at my age. 30. Everyone looks like I could be their dad now. Like Jake Knapp's probably 19. I'm 20 years older than that guy. Well, 18 years older than that guy. I could actually be his dad.
Yeah.
I wasn't as down on the field as most. Valmaki, props to Keith Stewart and others who mentioned him. But Valmaki was all over Keith Stewart's radar. He can smash it, that's for sure. Knapp had some pretty good recovery shots out of the bunker and around the green. Clutch ones. Yeah, he can get a little loose with his driver sometimes, and there you can get away with it. And on some of his approach shots, I think it was on 9. No, that's a par 3. I'm not that familiar with the course, but there are other courses that he could not get away with that like he did. But that's okay. I mean, resort style course, weaker field, and he held it. I mean, good for him. Knapp's good. I like him. Do I like him going into the Honda Classic this week?
No.
Classic. Cognizant Classic? No.
Fade this week, right?
This week.
I think that a lot of the strategy that he was deploying at Vidanta Vallarta is not going to be advantageous at a golf course like PGA National with very narrow fairways and water coming into play on 11 out of 14 tee shots. I think he hit 1 or 2 fairways out of 13 on Sunday in Mexico, and those were 41-yard wide fairways. So I don't think it will be a soft landing this week coming off of that breakthrough victory at Vidanta. I think he's 8.4. That's going to be an easy fade for me. Just to check in, as is tradition, the guys in the chat got it right away.
What'd they say?
I don't know who's the first. I mean, there are 3 acceptable answers because there are 3 guys that I'm like over 1K off on. But Gim was the guy I had in mind as a player that is $7,000 this week, was 8.8K last week and finished 8th. That was a slam play for me. Can certainly brag about that a little bit because there are a lot of things that went wrong for me last week as well. But the guy has finished top 15 in 3 straight starts. He's gained 3.55 7 strokes ball striking. He is, outside of maybe Matthew Pavone, nobody is really hitting the ball better right now than Gim over like a 3-start sample size. And he's 7K this week after being 8.8 last week and finishing 8th, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, some of that down low pricing, 7K low, and then even some 5Ks are really interesting. I think a lot of the 9K range, you could make a case for any one of them. I think it'll pull ownership off of Rory because people may want to play 1 or 2 of those. Rory 12-2. When we can get to this after we talk about the course, but that's going to be a decision point for a lot of people. Maybe not Kobe DeBose because he's Rory's #1 super fan. But well, you saw how 12K Finau worked out last week. He's just not the same right now.
No.
But I'm glad the tour, Honda, a long-term sponsor. I thought PGA National would not be on the tour schedule this year, but now you've got it back with Cognizant. And if you can describe what Cognizant does, Andy will give you a free hat. But PGA National, I have this in my Twitter notes, and you'll have a more refined and eloquent way of stating this, but it's a brute. It is, from a DFS perspective, if you're new to golf, it is a destroyer of chalk, and you will never seem to get it right. And you'll never seem to get it right as of like 8 a.m. Mountain Time on Thursday. largely because there's so many ways to eject. There's water on 15 holes. You've got a +3, +4 type cut. You've got single digit sometimes, or at least low double digit winning score under par, which is very difficult. Top 5 most difficult on tour places. And, lesson driver, it's not a bomber's course, but as we've seen in the past, you really can't get away with not having great tee to green, especially iron play, at the green play. Be very much in control of your ball, especially in the what? Bear trap. Mm-hmm. Bear trap, 15 to 17, which you can eject on. Not a lot of places to bail out. And, you've seen steady, in control of their ball type players like Chris Kirks. Matt Jones had a great run. He put his brains out there. But really, it's iron play and putting. Iron play, being able to rescue, and sun running putters like Fowler did win a few years ago here, but you can't get away with. There's so many ways to eject here. So you need guts. And plus, if it's windy, which is expected to be Friday afternoon, right? Even that much more difficult.
Yeah. And I would say big time, be sure to monitor the weather this week. We got some boots on the ground in Florida as well. It seems like they haven't gotten a ton of rain, but last year was the first year over the last decade where it ranked outside of the top 15 in difficulty. And that was because there was a lot lower winds. And Chris Kirk talked about that in his final round interview. He was like, this was not the PGA National that I'm used to playing. It was a lot more target practice. You were able to be a lot more aggressive just because the wind wasn't up. So heading into this week, I was thinking, okay, man, I hope we get wind, because I don't want this golf course to lose a bit of its character and identity, which is one of the toughest non-major courses on the PGA Tour. And the meddlers at the Swamp in Ponte Vedra say, hold my beer. Let's turn one of the golf courses with a distinctive identity, the bear trap, right? How do we think of Honda? What do we know of Honda? One of the most difficult challenges on the PGA Tour, right? It's a grinder. Euros play well there. Lowry, Fleetwood, Berger, guts, right? Guts, strokes gained guts. And the PGA Tour
and win.
Yeah. And the PGA Tour says, let's turn the hardest hole on the golf course, a 508-yard par 4, the 10th hole, into a 530-yard par 5, which is just inexplicable to me. I don't really understand why.
That's how it's set up on the course in general, right? It's always a par 5. They just back it down to par 4. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. And listen, it's not going to make a dramatic change to like my breakdown of the course. I think that pros, you could call a hole a par 4 and a par 5, and it could be the same length and the same hole. And because it's a par 5 instead of a par 4, PGA Tour pros would just play it differently. They just would. So is this, they made it 5 yards longer. Is it going to change the strategy of the hole? I think more guys are going to go right, not be able to carry the bunker. I think it's just to par. It's going to, the golf course is going to play a little bit under par more so than it has in previous years, with it being a par 5. But I don't think it's going to dramatically change. Maybe if you want to give a little bit of a bigger bump to power, right? Because this is another hole where you'll be able to gain a distinct advantage from being powerful off the tee. This is not a driver heavy course. And this is one of the
driver on like 5+ par 4s, right?
For sure. So yeah, I mean, for me, like I wrote about this pretty in depth in the course breakdown that I wrote on runpuresports.com. If you want my full thoughts, you can check that out. But just to keep it brief, I think that this is a big time ball strikers golf course in terms of like, if you look at the difficulty level on approach and off the tee here, it's a really challenging driving and approach course, and Around the green play here is pretty easy. Putting here is pretty easy. So I think there's been a reason actually why you've seen guys like Henley and Lowry and Glover and Woodland here, even like lower price guys like Glover and Woodland, that are such great, accurate drivers and middle iron players, been able to navigate the task well. And then there's like a massive, we can get into this at another time later in the show, but there's an uncanny 3M Open TPC Twin Cities correlation here, because that is the other golf course on tour. Yeah, Lee Hodges, Michael Thompson, Keith Mitchell, Sung JM, the list goes on and on. But that's the
you get firm and fast conditions. Firm and fast conditions. Look at that thumbs up. You get 15 holes with water.
Mm-hmm.
You get wind. You're going to get carnage, whether or not 10 is turned into a par 5 or not.
Yeah.
The Florida swing in general, you'll be so glad when we're done with it from a DFS perspective. But we're starting off with a bang because you'll be out of it quickly. I mean,
3 weeks in a row. Honda API players.
Right. And API.
And then Valspar.
And Valspar may be the hardest of all 4. I mean,
yeah.
But it is in control of your ball, wind, firm and fast, Bermuda, typically a lot of water, and destruction on these, the Green Mile or the Bear Trap, or 17, 18 at the players. You're just going to see a lot of things happen that take you out. And so you're going to have, and the crowd's pretty wild, has been at the Honda Classic, right? I mean, the wildest of all has been Jeff Feinberg yelling at Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, there's video of that. But the crowd is not, I mean, you had Justin Thomas a few years back, had a guy kicked out, remember, prior to his tee shot because they're so rowdy. It's not waste management rowdy, but they're pretty wild down there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I like the Florida guys there. I love the Daniel Berger types, strokes gain guts. He's pricey this week for a guy that's still coming off of injury.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be like 8.7. Do you think he's a little overpriced?
Well, DK models it off the sportsbook market, and as soon as I've rarely seen. Well, you don't see that much. The difference between the shortest price player, Rory at +7, and the next one, there's no one in the single digits. There's no one in the 11s. You get to Cameron Young at 20-1. I thought, holy shit. We talked about it. Rory's going to be 12+.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did think Berger at 40-1. I thought, well, he's probably going to hit the 9s. But then you get some real value. Seabez, for instance, one Andrew Novak. I mean, that's the one that was in my head. Right when someone said 5.9, I hadn't seen the pricing yet because I was on a meeting. I thought that is insane. A guy who's 6 I think he's 6 on tour right now in tee to green, and he's playing great and can putt. 5.9 Novak. Someone mentioned him in the comments, but that is a play.
Yeah.
Pat Mayo said Matthew Fitzpatrick is winning.
Okay.
What's he winning?
What's he gonna win? Sounds good.
He didn't like that.
Can we talk about Rory off the top here first? Because
we can.
To me, I'm fascinated to see how Rory looks over the next couple of weeks. He is making he's taking a very different approach to his Masters prep this year. And we talked about this a little bit last show, but Rory is going to play 3 weeks in a row. Okay. Because we know he's not skipping the API. We know he's not skipping the players. And then he's going to play the Valero Texas Open the week before the Masters. So we're going to see Rory 4 times in the next 7 weeks before the Masters. That's double the amount of guys like Scotty Scheffler. Most of the top players are going to play API and players. That's it. Okay. So,
and they don't love. They play API, but
they don't love.
They don't like it.
Totally.
They don't like that course. I don't
totally.
want to say that, but they don't.
It's true. But so on first thought, I said to myself, you know, this is the first of a 3-week stretch for Rory. This is a golf course where water comes into play on 15 holes. It's way harder to stomach a 12K golfer when you know that there's so much variance on this golf course, right? And we don't even know how much Rory cares about winning the Honda Classic. Like, this is all about the Masters for him. Okay. Right. This is all about, like, I'm playing this because it's a home game. I can sleep in my own bed. And I will be able to, I'll get to try some things. Right. We're going to start getting into Masters mode and players and API. Right. So on one hand, it's like, God, it doesn't make a lot of sense to play a 12K Rory. On the other hand, I think there are so many missed prices this week that I find myself being able to fit Rory in a lot of lineups that I like far more than I would have expected. And you even see it last week with Finau, Wiley, where, you know, Finau finishes T12, and it's like, that was pretty disappointing.
After a late run too, because he shouldn't have.
Right. But you just jam the top priced Finau in there because he's obviously the best player. And look at all of the pivots off of Finau last week. Hojgaard, whiff. Taylor Pendrith, whiff. Right? Like, you basically, you had to do the Jagger, Patrick Rogers EVR thing.
Right.
Right. Which I did in a lot of lineups, but it didn't matter. So part of me says to myself, is that, like, man, Rory at 12, like, every time this has happened with Scheffler this year, even if he feels disappointing, that guy always is 12th. And like Ghost Jam said in the chat, you know, the 200 single entry shipper had a T12 Finau.
Yeah, and that's the thing with, that's a great point with Rory, because Rory's going to come in at, I said, 14% owned.
Interesting.
I don't think he's going to be like Finau last week was 30, low 30s, but in a field like that where he's won and finished second, where he's clearly the best golfer, and 12K. Here there are so many options in the 9s that you can build around. 14 may be a little low, but I don't think he's going to be super highly owned because Rory has been disappointing. He was disappointing at Riviera. You feel like something is different with him or off with him, or there's some sort of internal battle between other golfers right now. Like, you know, he had those comments about Cantlay, and he just seems out. He used to be the spokesperson for the players, not the players in general. He used to be the spokesperson of the tour, and now he's just like, I retired. I checked out. But he also seems to be at conflict with something, in my personal opinion. If you're, you know, like Keith Stewart does on Wednesday when you're paddock betting and you're just saying how people look, feel, act, what's going on in their life. Are they sick? Are they bored? Do they care? Are they going to live? Whatever. Rory just seems off. But you're right. Okay, you don't play Rory. Do you love chasing Cam Young around?
At 10.7, he's never won on the PGA Tour. I guarantee you there are a ton of people still pretty pissed off at Fitz, myself included.
Yeah, and then Cameron Young, I mean, he's a monster driver of the ball, but his irons can drive you crazy. They drove me crazy at Riviera. Fitzpatrick, you talked about. Am I playing 10-2 Henley? Or Kim?
Or Tom Kim, right? Who's never played PGA National before and is starting to play better golf. And that would be my counter argument to Rory being so low, is that I think a lot of people are going to build and they're going to say to themselves, wow, I can get Andrew Novak, who should be 7K at 5.9. I can get Doug Gim at 7K, who should be 8K. I can get Brandon Wu, who should be 6.6, who should be 8.5 at 6.6. Man, this Rory lineup is actually a lot easier to make than I would have thought, coupled with I don't see a lot of enthusiasm for the 10K range.
No,
okay, so that was the
here's the
question
difference.
that I posed in the chat.
Yeah, here's the difference is that you get a very robust 9K range of players people were talking about before pricing even came out.
Right.
Keith Mitchell, yes. Corey Connors, yes. I love Daniel Berger. Pricey, but yes. Shane Lowry, one of the most talked about I've heard this week.
Let's not forget about Eric Cole, too.
Eric Cole, Sanjay Im, people still chase that. Minwoo Lee, Ben On, huge cult of Ben On. Chris Kirk, former winner. Yeah. Literally, I can see 3 out of the 9s being played, or 2 to 3, as a starting point for a lot of the people, which is my contention as to why people may bounce off of Rory at 12-2 on a high variance, ejection heavy course. But if you had to stake your life on one person in the field that didn't eject, it's going to be Rory, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah, and that's why I think he's gonna get in. I think he's gonna be owned. It's too early for me to.
What do you see? What do you think? Sub 20?
No, I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say Rory right now 25, but that is because, Wiley, I do not think, and I can transition us into this question because I'm curious what you think. I don't think any of the other 10K guys, except maybe Henley, because Henley always models out well. Like Kyle mentioned in the chat, he models out great for me. I'm considering betting him this week myself. But outside of maybe Henley, who could be popular, I do not see.
He still won one time in like 14 years.
True. But he's a statistical darling, and Vegas always likes Henley too. Yeah. I do not see Cameron Young, Tom Kim, and Matt Fitzpatrick getting ownership this week in a significant
people tired of Fitzpatrick. It's very difficult to chew on Cam Young. I can see him ejecting if you followed him around Liv. Now he came on strong late, not Liv, Riv, Freudian. If he came on strong late, but Henley, difficult for me to play at that price. So I could see that with Rory, and Hewitt just posted in the chat that Rory is Data Golf's #1 play. That's a big driver of chalk. It's a huge driver. So
really going out on a limb here.
What? Yeah.
Data Golf really going out on a limb here.
Don't get me started. No, there's nothing wrong with Data Golf. I just like battling cut lines.
I love Data Golf. Me too. Okay.
I love them.
Can we talk about the 9s? So who is your favorite play in the 9s? This is such a beefy range. We already got a Keith Mitchell question, but if I'm telling you, Wiley,
Keith Mitchell
right now, forget ownership. And we can make our guesses on ownership. But who's your favorite in the 9s on Monday morning?
It's got to be top 10 strokes gained tee to green. Keith Mitchell, Florida swing. Winner here, right? Came on at Mexico Open, showed something. He loves Bermuda. He keeps the ball in play. He's just a dude. And I thought that 9K was really low for him, to be honest with you. I think that there's a tremendous amount to like in the 9K range. I said Berger, Guts, Eric Cole. He battled recently. Did he battle Chris Kirk before he won? Right. It was a playoff that Chris Kirk beat Eric Cole in a playoff, I think. Poston there, Ben On, people love. Lowry lost to Straka in the rain. Remember that on 18?
Yeah.
But I think in that range, I think because of the price, Keith Mitchell. And listen, you want super chalk in that price range, and say like the 8.6 to 9.3, 9.4s, Mitchell's going to be owned for sure.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting question too, is who do you think is going to be the most popular in this range? Because I have a tough time parsing that, but like Poston's playing incredible golf. Okay.
Yep.
People are still going to play Poston.
Yep.
How do you not? Eric Cole, who's number 2 in my model, lost in a playoff last year. He finally got that rest week. So, he's coming off a week of rest, his first rest week of the season, playing incredible golf. He just finished top 15 at Riviera. This is a way better golf course for him than Riviera. Sungjae's a former champion. You kind of got the recent form versus course history with Sungjae, because Sungjae's not playing well, but he's been great at this course. Chris Kirk.
Here's the thing with Sungjae. Sungjae, nope. And it's not going to be like sustained sort of Pebble Beach type win, but you give him firm and fast and good weather, not a lot of wind. He's that pony. I mean, that's the guy you ride.
Yeah. So if you had to make a judgment call, who do you think is the highest owned in this range? You're going Mitchell?
So I sort of parse the ranges by like 300 up, 300 down ish in terms of like the chalk as a price. If you want to say 9K in general, I think by far Mitchell will get the most steam. However, people do love Ben On. I mean, if you look at scoring, if you just sort by birdies, Ben On is a scorer, and he's played great.
He's one of us, right? He's engaged in the Twitter community here. Did you see somebody tweeted Ben On week, and Ben On quote tweeted it with the Office meme where he's like, so I don't know if that's going to make people go off.
No, that's great to hear, because he'd be like, I don't really feel it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I will say, Ben On is one of the players I have a good close connection to. Not me personally. I have to get more flexes in, because I'm trying to catch up.
You were right. On Riv that he was going to play well, and he did. I mean,
so I can do some due diligence on the state of Ben On's game and post that in the Discord, because I have a close friend who is very close to Ben On. And I like him a lot this week. I'm gonna say don't sleep on Eric Kolchak as my prediction. I know he's 9.9, but I'm just gonna say don't sleep on it. Anyone else in the 9s you want to? And then the last guy, I really like Shane Lowry this week. I just want to make sure we mention his name before we get into the 8s.
Yeah, and it was Straka he lost in the playoff when they had that huge downpour of rain. I believe Lowry almost won here. And Eric Cole did. I mean, I think it was Riviera when he said he had a couple of bad rounds. I'm getting the tournaments messed up, but he did say on the range he did find something finally, and he's played well ever since, every round. And Eric Cole's a scorer. In the once again skipped 8 range, which has just on optics alone has so much of a difference from the sexiness of the 9K guys. Not that they're sexy. I'm just saying the name brand value that they bring in the 9K range. But guys you don't love playing, Norin, Rose, which I don't like. I don't like. But, Luke List has become a better putter. Luke List has contended here. And he has failed here because he historically has been, let me see which year that was. Was it 2019? It was one of these years. It was 2018. He put okay there. But Luke List at Riviera showed me that he's become a much better putter.
Yeah.
I like Luke List. I like that price. I like him 55-1. That surprised me. And I knew you're going to get good DK pricing because of it. I'll still fall in the Sepp Straka trap. I know a lot of people will like Pavone because he is tee to green and approach, great statistically. But like a Carl Yuan or a Yu or some of these other guys, I think he's got an expired half-life. I'm probably not going to play a lot of him. McCarthy, I do like
nine's a little steep.
A little steep. Højgaard, until further notice. Jake Knapp, he's probably still shotgunning beers. May take a pass on him.
Yeah.
And people love Bo Hostler, and I don't know if I need to do it. Do I need to get in there or no?
No, you don't.
Okay, thank God.
I think you'll be okay without.
You're the voice of reason.
Well, the one guy that I'm surprised you didn't mention, who I was going to start with, not just because I like him. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised that Jagger.
I left him for you. This is good content.
Yes. So why is Jagger, who finished, I swear they got, I make my own pricing and kind of my predictions and what I think before the pricing comes out. And I've never been more not aligned with DK, at least this year in 2024. This is the most unaligned I am with DK and what they've decided to do. Jagger finishes third in Mexico after finishing third at Torrey Pines. He's hitting the ball great. Now he returns to Honda, where he finished 14th in his last appearance, gaining 9 strokes ball striking. Why is he
Let me tell you,
$100 cheaper than Denny McCarthy?
Because he was sneaky last week in him coming up into third. You didn't hear from him all week, and then he had a monster final round.
Yeah.
Had he won, much different story. So, and I don't think you're going to get ownership on Jagger either, because people are in love with the 9s, right? So I think it's a great play. Jagger,
I'm playing it, but I do think he will get ownership, because there's got to be people that are looking at this like me saying, what's going on?
Only reason why is, and this both can be this, it's not an if or, it is the Keith Mitchell, vacuum there that suck a lot of ownership again in that sort of 300 plus minus range of him. That's the only thing. So just my first instinct, I didn't see Jagger there. I don't think he'll be unowned, but I think that he didn't. It's always on the PGA Tour is, what have you done for me lately? Literally 7 days ago. People have forgotten who won Amex. People have forgotten who won Pebble Beach. People are forgetting who won Riv. People know who won last week, and who did well last week. But Jagger kind of sleepy last week. So,
but he was chalk last week. Like, Jagger was high owned last week, and he paid off. He paid off people who played him very nicely with a third place finish at 9.9. So I think if you finish third, highly owned, there's
playing right.
There's no way you're not. People aren't going to come back to the well there at 8.8. I think outside of that, I really like Straka, and I think Straka might be a bit of a beneficiary of how you've mentioned. Kind of maybe Corey Connors falls into this bucket too, but just the amount of great options in the 9s. Straka may be a bit of a beneficiary towards that. He models out incredibly well for him.
And I think the same thing, Straka fast winner, Chris Kirk. People may forget a little bit about Chris Kirk, because again, he didn't have a great, was it Riviera? What have you done for me lately, Chris? But I love Chris Kirk's game. I mean, that's the guy that has a control of his ball. He puts it in the fairway. He's not long. You don't need to be long here. He can make some putts, and he's not ejecto-cedo.
Statistically, number one by my numbers in this field is Chris Kirk. My number 1 and 2 in my model is just the playoff from last year, Eric Cole and Chris Kirk, which I hope gives some credence that I'm looking at the right numbers. You want to talk about the 7s?
Yeah, Tom Hoagie. Hoagie. That is a name when it's high approach type game. His irons at Riv were incredible. He lived up to the billing. I like that he's in the 7K range. Tom Hoagie's a guy that I can see really doing well this week. Next to our guy, Taylor Pendrith, who, again, what have you done for us lately? Not much.
Good
Thank
flop
you,
flag on Pendy. I
man.
think that's a good flop flag on Pendy.
You do? You think
I
you
do.
think his game is suited for this?
He's finished 25th and 42nd here. So he's done it before in the past. He's had some decent success in the Southeast and on Bermuda. Like he's finished top 15 at the Players before. Those 2 days in Mexico, I think the two big ones for me where I was like, what got into these guys? These seemed like perfect course fits. Stevens and Pendrith. Stevens, well, got her up. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Stevens, I saw that ending poorly once he was like 35% in single entries, but just from a pure course fit perspective, he rated out so highly for me. And Pendrith, was the other one where it didn't make a whole lot of sense because Pendrith struggled in both ball striking categories. He didn't really get too much better on Friday. So it really comes down to how much stock are you going to put into 2 rounds in Mexico? And you're right. It could have been food poisoning. I could try, and I don't have any ins on the Pendrith camp. I do on the Gotterup camp. And that was an example of, I got this message from a friend of Gotterup saying 2 hours before his tee time. And, I posted this in the Discord so a couple guys would get off him in Showdown. Yeah. Gotterup's teeing off in 2 hours. He's on an IV. Right? So I don't know if
it's self-induced or what.
I don't know. Food poisoning, he told me. So Montezuma's revenge, dehydration in Mexico, whatever. You got to be careful with the water down there. I don't know what it is. So but Pendrith or Gotterup is, and what do you know? Gotterup withdrew, right after I posted that. So I'll see what I can find on Pendrith about what, if we can explain why things went so wrong for him in Mexico on a golf course that I thought was like perfect for him. So follow along in the Discord. I'll do some digging on that. But then Wiley Svensson, I mean, that's my guy.
That's your guy.
7.7 Canadian, 9th at the Honda Classic. Here's another nugget for you guys. Svensson played, they used to play the Corn Ferry qualifying tournament. It's like the old web.com Q School finals at PGA National. Adam Svensson won at PGA National in the Corn Ferry Tour qualifying tournament back in 2016. He also has a 9th here in 2022. So I will be going right back to the well with my guy, Adam Svensson.
Yeah, Svensson just seems to me like a lot of like a Kurt type player, not overly long. Keeps the ball in play, just efficient golfer. I like Bezaden out.
Yeah, me too.
I do. I don't like Ryan Fox. I think I need to disassociate myself with Ryan. Low T Montgomery. I know you don't love him.
Change my tune on T-Mont.
Okay. And
I'll tell you why. You go first, and then I'll give you my T-Mont.
Okay. I think T-Mont is in that sort of Svensson type mold, maybe even a better score. And then lower range, there's a lot to like. Someone posted that 7 to 7.9K range. Billy Horschel. I could see Billy Horschel doing really well this week. Lucas Glover. He contended here a few years ago. I don't love Lucas Glover, but the stats don't lie. I mean, you want a guy who puts every ball in the fairway and is great tee to green. It's like a Luke List. We didn't talk about him at 8-1 like Luke List. And McNeely, do I have to warm up on him a little bit? So, I think there's a few down there that are very, very interesting. Billy Horschel. I mean, they're all Florida guys, right? I mean, they all live around here. So, but go ahead on T-Mont. What makes you like him?
This is going to be flex number 5. So
we're going over 7. We're going over 7.
Okay. I've got like 10, 15 minutes to get past 7. So I'm going to hit you with 5. I was at, I was hanging out with a Southern Highlands member in Vegas last week. Actually, my girlfriend's uncle. Southern Highlands is the Vegas course where all the Vegas guys practice.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about the lay of the land there. He was telling me Kurt Kitayama, total legend, Taylor Montgomery, nicest guy you'll ever meet, bombs the ball off the tee. Harry Hall is another one of his friends. And he said, oh yeah, anytime you want these guys on the podcast, just let me know. I'm great friends with all of them. And I said, okay, I'd actually love to talk to any of these guys on the podcast. And he goes, okay, no problem. I'll text Kurt right now. He's on first name basis with Kitayama. Kitayama's like his closest friend. He texts Kurt Kitayama, hey, Kurt, will you do a podcast with my friend? I'll put you in touch. Kurt just goes, I don't do podcasts.
Oh,
he doesn't even hit him with the who's your friend?
Okay.
Who's the podcast?
There's nothing worse.
I feel like my podcast now, which is, on the golf charts, it's top 15 golf podcasts in the country. I feel like it could maybe at least be a net neutral to Kurt Kitayama, potentially help him with his brand. I'll lob him some softballs. Okay. And Kurt just hits him with the, I don't do podcasts.
That was like 5 or 6 flexes in a row, but now it's like net 2 because there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse. And we all been there. I mean, that some guy famous or whatever, and you text him like, listen, I can hook this up for you, Andy. Don't worry, I got this. And of course, it's your girlfriend's uncle or dad or whatever.
Right.
I mean, listen, that's what guys do. I'll do the same thing with my daughters. Blah blah blah. Look, I'll text them right now, and they text you back. Be like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah,
or some shit. And my daughters are like, it's real cool, Dad.
I'm not going to do your shitty podcast.
Yeah. I don't worry. I know Travis Kelce. 1 second, girls. Watch this. Who is this?
Yeah. So listen, he didn't text T-Mont. Maybe we get in touch with T-Mont later. But yeah, anyway. So where were we? 7s?
Yeah, I mean, I said Horschel, Glover, McNeely range. I know a lot of people like Shank, Montgomery. EVR still sitting there. It didn't have a great Sunday. Led on Thursday. He can be frustrating. He's too ejecty for me.
Yeah. Another guy though that you could probably make the case like EVR. Another one of the things I got right last week, because there were guys that killed me, but EVR at 12% was 9.5 was kind of a steal. So he finishes 9th or something like that. I know he was in that Ben Carey lineup that almost won a ton of money. The guy is now 7.4 after finishing 9th at 9.5. But the guys that I would add to the mix outside of Svensson, Bezadenhout, Glover, you mentioned, I just love his ball striking on this course. I trust his middle iron play and his accuracy off the tee more than one of the most of any other player in this field. Gim, I think, is based on the way he's playing. Now, this could end up being the perfect letdown spot for Gim because he's not been great on Bermuda. He's not been great at this golf course. But I always say to myself at the Honda Classic, you want to favor recent form over course history because it doesn't matter what you've done in the past here. Can you hit the shots? Can you execute? Because there's so much water. And Gim is executing right now better than, almost any other player in the field. And then Billy Horschel, 7K. As you mentioned, I'm a big Billy fan as well.
So much. Yes.
And then all the other guys, there's 8 guys in the 6K range that I could make.
Oh my God. Okay. So now you get, if you didn't like Thomas, if you like Thomas Dietrich at 10-1, you'll love him at 6-9. So the Thomas Dietrich became the sore subject of arguments within the Discord because we all liked him, right? You publicly did. You had it written. I sort of verbally said it, so I had some outs. So I just blamed you. But Dietrich 6'9", TBD. I know Stewart didn't really like him. You've got Justin Suh, bad week. You've got SH Kim, our not our favorite Kim anymore. It's Chan Kim. But the one guy, and if you look at him statistically, he's very highly ranked in tee to green and continues to play well and continue to be well priced, is Lauer. It's Justin Lauer, right? Great story, great player, playing well, good tee to green. I can still see Justin Lauer as a very safe 6'4" play here, top 20 type player, control of his ball, and kind of made a run last week. Didn't have enough juice to get past Knapp to win, but yeah, I think there's a lot of prices of players that burn people in this range that you can get them a lot cheaper now. Davis Thompson played great.
Yeah.
He's right there. Yeah, that's what Capwise says. Ben Carey. Yeah. Davis Thompson. That seems like a misprice to me.
Yeah, big time with Davis Thompson. That was, and you mentioned Dietrich, that was the biggest problem for me because the 4 guys I played over 9K were Rogers, EVR, Jagger, Dietrich. So I got 3 of 4, but when you have Dietrich in 55% of your lineups, and he's the guy that you say is your favorite out of the 4, which he was, yeah, that's going to be a tough scene.
Bobby Stacks will be fighting some water. Bobby, yes, he will. Bobby Max.
Yeah, the Wu brothers are
they're not brothers, by the way.
They're not brothers.
No, they're not even in the same state.
Am I allowed to reheat a flex from last week?
Yeah, we need to get you went +6, so you went to 11, but 4- because of the Kurt Kitayama absolute stone cold chat.
I did get dunked on by Kurt.
You're at 7 right now. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to reheat an old one from last week. Played high school golf with Brandon Wu. Beat him fairly often. Never beat him. So he is 9.1 in Mexico. Finishes top 15. Gained strokes in all 4 major categories. Now he goes to the Honda where he's finished 14th last year. And he's 6.6. Let's just compare him to Dietrich, right? Dietrich's 10K, misses the cut, finishes almost dead last, is 6.9. Wu is 9K, finishes top 15, has better course history than Dietrich, is cheaper now. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I love Brandon Wu, and same thing with Dylan Wu. Dylan Wu, top 25 last week. He's got a 10th and a 30th at the Honda in 2 appearances. I don't understand why he's 6.1. So, and then do you have the stones for Gary this week, Wiley, who's been awesome at the Honda and is starting to play better?
I mean,
6.5.
Yeah, and a great wind player, right?
Great wind player, great
low flight ball, great hands. I think that he accelerates early. You get real excited about Gary. He does this at the Masters and then back down. I don't think it's a bad price to take a risk. I just think there's too much else there I like. And even in the 5K range, and I mentioned it, we can stop talking about the woos. That's what Ghost Jam is on. He stopped steaming the woos.
He's telling us to shut up about them.
Club Down Gary's been my Honda go-to. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
3 wood off the tee, Gary. Good iron player, low ball flight, good win. Gary. You don't have to sell me on Gary. These older school guys. Webb Simpson, if he was playing, I'd chalk his ass, of course. But listen, you've got guys like the Andrew Novak thing at 5'9" is a joke. That's a joke. I mean, he's top 7 on tour strokes gained tee to green. I've always known, at least in his recent history of being on tour, as a really good putter. He played, I believe, at the Barbasol here. And, another great week for Novak. I think he's a great price. You got Sam Ryder. If you guys, there's a lot of Sam Ryder lovers. Ben Martin types. I don't like Ben Martin, but those types show up here. Guys, not overly long, control their ball, make clutch putts. Yeah, I just think that there's this new 5K pricing range has opened up a lot of doors to doing things that you typically wouldn't have. But Novak, God, he could be. Oh my God! I'm not sure what the market will like, and you may not like him. What, does he not rate well for you?
Wait, who is this? I'm just
Andrew Novak.
He actually didn't rate as well for me in the model, but I need to update it with the Mexico stats, so that's going to bump him up.
Yeah.
Still a great middle iron player. Yeah, the approach stuff's going to get better for him. He's going to rate as playable once my stats get updated. Do you know that DraftKings put the Cootie brothers at? This is just a perfect example of like
Cootie brothers are actual brothers.
DraftKings were asleep at the wheel this week.
Yeah.
They put the Cootie brothers at the same price this week. Okay.
Right.
After one of the Cootie brothers, the good one, I believe Parker, who was higher priced than Pearson, and he finishes T23. And then Pearson Cootie, who was lower priced, finishes, I think he withdraws or finishes DFL. And now this week, the higher price guy who finished T23 is the same price as his brother, who was lower price last week and finished DFL. Well, how does that make any sense?
Well, because you could just thank the sports book. They wait for their sports book to come out and their handicappers to put up the prices, and the DK pricing just models off of it. I honestly swear to God, I would bet they didn't know the difference between the two people.
They didn't. How many people are going to screw it up? Because Kyle's right. Parker's the one you want to play.
Yeah.
But they're the same price. So how tilting is that going to be if you think you play Parker and you get stuck with Pearson? Or if
it's not Pearson, it's Pearson's on.
Or if Pearson ends up being better this week after we all jam Parker, and then the one guy that thought he was playing Parker plays Pearson.
I mean,
Parker's Capwise throws it out there. Parker's 400 to 1. Pearson's 1,000 to 1. They're the same.
Did it open? I don't know if it opened that way. Did it open that way?
I don't know. Maybe it's gotta. I mean, there's been steam on some guys already a little bit. I bet a couple of the guys, but I mean, it's just it's so dumb. It's so dumb. I don't understand any of this week. All right, we got to get out of here. We've gone long. Who's your winner?
It's a great question. One for the ages. I mean, my heart says someone like Daniel Berger.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to happen.
I bet him at 45 to 1, by the way.
Yeah, and I still think that was a little too pricey for him. I thought he'd give it maybe in the 60s, and maybe is that on different platforms. I like your Eric Cole pick. I mean, I'm going to give that one to you as Eric Cole could win. I agree with that. But I really believe it's a Keith Mitchell week.
Okay.
I really do.
It's a good pick.
I think it's, and of course it's a price bias because you get 9K. If he was 12K, you'd say, well, Keith Mitchell's not winning, much like Rory. But I think generally Keith Mitchell has been playing so well, and he loves the Florida swing, lives down here, loves Bermuda, great putter. He's a safe play for me.
Yeah, 8 strokes on approach last week at Mexico. His irons are unbelievable. I'm going to stick with my guy Svensson at 55 to 1.
Sorry, to win?
Yep.
Okay. Love it.
I always go out on a limb on these. Yeah. Yeah. So
Svensson, you should have said Pierce on Cootie.
Pierce on Cootie.
All right. We'll come back Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Can you do it?
Are we doing 3 p.m. Eastern now? Is that the thing?
I mean, we also do an 11 o'clock playback with Tony when he's on a gummy. That's kind of fun.
What's the deal with Tony? What happened? What's the deal with? Is Tony ever going to join us on these?
He doesn't like us.
Also, what is playback?
Okay, so let me tell playback, and you'll see this as we go throughout the year once they get their PGA license. But basically, we can stream or co-stream the PGA Tour broadcast because people are signed into their ESPN accounts or what have you. And we can talk much like the Manning cast during the broadcast. So we can do like cut sweats and everything. But we've got a pretty good, RPS is a huge following. We're one of the originals on there. So we do sometimes live streams and pull up, pricing.
That'd be so much fun to do golf on there. I feel like I'd be pretty good at that.
Well, they're doing NBA, and it's a lot of fun. So we did one at 11 o'clock. I was ripping heaters from my bedroom, and Tony was on a gummy. It was fun. Went through everything.
Oh, yep. All right.
Well, he'll be back. He'll be back. Wednesday, if you can do 3, we'll have Keith S. on again, which is great.
Yeah.
And then if not, we'll do 11. Who cares? So what? Who cares?
All right. Later, buddy.
Kyle says 8 p.m. Fine, Kyle. We'll do it for you, 8 p.m. So needy, Kyle.